Everyone needs to sacrifice. After 15 years leading sales and personally handling our top 10 accounts, the company was acquired and the new female director targeted my compensation. Your package is outdated. We're cutting base pay by 40% and restructuring commissions, she announced. If life has ever tested your kindness, this story is for you. Then follow up with subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let's dive in. I was still holding the pen when she said it, like I was supposed to sign away 15 years of my life just like that. Your package is outdated. We're cutting base pay by 40% and restructuring commissions, she announced, not even blinking. Her voice was calm, too calm, like she'd practiced the line in front of a mirror. I stared at her, heart thumping, wondering if I was dreaming. My name is Daniel Hayes, 42, head of sales. And for 15 years, I didn't just work for that company. I was that company. I built the sales strategy from scratch, landed and maintained our top 10 accounts, and stayed in the office long after everyone else had gone home. And now, this new director, Madison Clark, 34, sleek, sharp, and cold, was telling me I was too expensive to keep. I looked around the glass-walled boardroom. No one else said a word. The CFO avoided eye contact. HR sat stiff like a mannequin. Madison kept her gaze locked on me. We appreciate your contribution, Daniel, but this is how we move forward now. Everyone needs to sacrifice. That line stayed with me. Everyone? Number just me. Just the guy who built the damn foundation she was standing on. I walked out without signing. I didn't slam the door, didn't scream. But inside, something cracked. You spend years building loyalty, and all it takes is one corporate shakeup for them to decide your baggage. I drove home in silence. My hands gripped the wheel harder than they should have. The worst part wasn't the pay cut. It was the disrespect. It was knowing that someone younger, someone who didn't bleed for this company, thought they could just erase me like I was a line item in a spreadsheet. Madison. That name wouldn't leave my head. She came in just 3 months ago when we got acquired by Voxel Corp. Rumors said she was the CEO's fixer, someone who made tough decisions with zero guilt. But what if she had more reasons to target me? I wasn't paranoid. I'd seen the looks, the subtle whispers during meetings, the way she'd cut me off whenever I tried to challenge her data. This wasn't just corporate restructuring. This was personal. Back home, my wife Jessica tried to calm me down. Maybe it's just a phase, Dan. You've weathered worse. But she didn't get it. It wasn't about the money. It was about being pushed aside, treated like a relic. My son, Ethan, 17, poked his head in. You okay, Dad? I smiled weakly. Yeah, buddy, just tired. He didn't press, but inside I was already turning. Something was changing. I wasn't going to accept this, not quietly. I spent 15 years building that empire, and if they wanted to erase me, they'd have to face the consequences. I pulled out my laptop that night, not to update my resume, but to pull data. I still had access to everything: client logs, account analytics, private memos. I knew where the bones were buried, and then something strange caught my eye. An old invoice linked to a dummy account, signed off by Madison. But the timestamp was before she officially joined. That's when I knew. It wasn't just about me being expensive. Madison was hiding something, and I'd just found her weak spot. Transfer to a shell vendor, approved weeks before Madison's official start date. No one else had access to financial approvals during that transition, unless she was already operating from the shadows. That realization didn't just confirm my suspicion. It lit a fuse inside me. The next morning, I called Kevin, one of my old teammates from the finance department, laid off 2 weeks ago without warning. You still got access to the legacy system backups? I asked. There was a pause, then a bitter chuckle. Of course, Voxel's IT team didn't even wipe us properly. That's what I needed to hear. Within hours, Kevin emailed me more logs, hidden vendors, pre-acquisition payments, some even routed through international accounts, all linked to projects that never existed. Madison hadn't come in to restructure. She came in to cover something up. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could send this all to corporate compliance right now. But something stopped me. This couldn't just be about justice, it had to be personal. She made it personal when she humiliated me in that boardroom. I needed to make her feel that same helplessness, not just expose her, break her. So I started planning. First, I reconnected with Carla, a client I'd brought in 5 years ago, one of our top 3 accounts. We'd shared more than just numbers over the years, quiet dinners during conferences, a few unspoken moments, a bond that danced on the edge. I never crossed the line, but now I needed leverage. "You know Madison's running your account now," I said casually. Carla's voice tensed. "We've barely heard from her. The service has gone cold." That was my window. I convinced Carla to pull her account temporarily, for review. It would trigger panic on Madison's end. And it did. Within 48 hours, Madison called me. I didn't even know she had my personal number. "What did you say to Carla?" Her tone was flat, but there was a crack in it. I smiled without letting it reach my voice. "I thought I was just outdated and irrelevant." Silence. Then she said something odd. "You don't know what you're doing, Daniel. This goes beyond you." That line stuck with me. Beyond me. What was she protecting? The next day, I visited Voxel Corp's old downtown location, pretending to be there for a meeting. The receptionist was new. She let me in without question. I headed straight to the floor where our off-books projects used to run, and that's where I found something I didn't expect. Her name wasn't just on invoices. Madison Clark was listed in the internal system as a consultant on an R&D shell company we acquired 6 months before she officially joined. But that company didn't exist anymore. It had been dissolved. Quietly, no announcements, just erased. And then it hit me. Madison wasn't targeting me because of money. She was scared I'd recognize her from the file trails because I'd signed off on the fake acquisition paperwork before she scrubbed it. She needed me gone because I was the one person who could link her past to this cover-up. Now I had a choice, expose her or push deeper. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. I sat alone in my apartment, the soft hum of the city outside my window doing nothing to calm the storm inside me. I wasn't just chasing justice anymore. I was spiraling towards something darker. There was a moment I thought about stopping, handing everything over to the authorities. But then I remembered her voice in that boardroom, the way she looked at me like I was a relic, that smirk, that cut. So I went further. I called Carla again. "We need to meet. Tonight." There was hesitation in her voice, but she said yes. We met at a rooftop bar overlooking the river, the city lights soft and silent around us. She looked at me differently now, not like a business partner, but like someone she couldn't quite figure out anymore. "What's going on, Daniel?" Madison's not just unqualified. She's laundering money through fake acquisitions, and she's been part of it long before she came on board. Carla's face changed. "That's huge. Do you have proof?" "I have just enough to sink her, but not enough to protect myself if this explodes." She leaned in. "Then you need someone who does." That's when she told me something I didn't expect. Her cousin works for federal compliance, not the corporate kind, the real kind. And if I gave her every detail, she could hand it over quietly. But there was a risk, a big one. "Once you start this," she said, "there's no undoing it." I nodded, but part of me wasn't ready to let go. Not yet. Not without making Madison feel what I felt. So I set one final trap. I booked a meeting at our old headquarters. I told the admin I had new investor interest and wanted to walk a potential buyer through the old space. Madison, of course, was alerted immediately. She called me. "What are you doing, Daniel?" I kept my tone calm. "You wanted me gone. I'm gone. Just wrapping up loose ends." She showed up at the building 20 minutes later. Alone. We stood face to face in the hallway where I once built a decade of relationships. Now it felt like a graveyard. "You're not here for investors," she said quietly. I'm here to give you a chance." She blinked. "A chance?" "To walk away, before everything comes out." Her face stiffened. "You think you're the only one who knows things, Daniel? You think you're clean?" Something flickered in her eyes. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small folder. "I was hoping I wouldn't need this, but if you want to play hard, fine." Inside were emails, my emails, personal ones, To Carla, ones that crossed professional lines, ones that could be twisted. Suddenly, the air between us thickened. "You were watching me before you ever fired me," I said. "You were dangerous long before that," she whispered. We stood there, holding weapons we couldn't yet use. That's when the elevator dinged. We both turned. Carla walked out, and behind her, two men in dark suits. Everything after that moved in silence. Madison's eyes widened as they showed her the badge. Her voice cracked, her hands shaking as she asked for a lawyer. Carla didn't look at her. She looked at me, and for the first time in months I could breathe. But just as they took Madison away, she whispered as she passed me, "You think it's over?" I didn't answer, because I knew it wasn't. The news spread like wildfire. By morning, every executive and every name that once whispered behind my back had read the headline, "Director of Sales Operations Arrested in Corporate Fraud Investigation." Madison's face was everywhere, cold, shaken, a woman who thought she controlled everything, now exposed. Carla's cousin worked fast. The SEC had enough to freeze Madison's assets, her offshore accounts, her fake subsidiaries. They all surfaced like rot beneath a polished floor. But the real surprise came 2 days later. I received an anonymous envelope at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a flash drive and a note. "If you're smart, you'll burn this. If you're not, press play." I couldn't help myself. The footage was grainy but clear. It was from 3 years ago, a company retreat, Madison in a hotel suite, with someone I recognized, my former assistant, Tyler. He was younger, new back then, barely 6 months into the company. He looked nervous. She looked in control. The video had no sound, but her gestures were unmistakable. It wasn't just about fraud. It was manipulation, power, seduction. She had been recruiting, creating fall guys, grooming loyalists. Tyler had disappeared after only a year. No one knew why. Now I did. I felt sick. Not because of what she did, but because part of me still felt something for her. That night on the rooftop, her confession, the way she touched my arm before leaving the hotel. Was any of that real? Or was I just another pawn she failed to play? A week passed. Carla and I didn't talk much after the arrest. She had done more than I asked, and I owed her. But she also knew I had gone deeper than necessary, that I wanted Madison to hurt, not just be exposed. "You got what you wanted," she said on the phone one night. "So why do you sound like someone who lost?" I didn't have an answer. Because revenge doesn't heal anything. It just fills silence with echoes. I visited the old office one last time. Empty now. Sunlight falling across the conference room table where Madison once announced my downfall. Her chair sat pushed back, papers still scattered as if she left in a hurry. I sat in it, closed my eyes. 15 years. I gave everything, my time, my loyalty, my heart maybe, and in return, a scar, one I'd carry forever. But maybe that's the price of being human, of caring. As I left, I passed by the glass door with my name still faintly visible beneath the new label they'd placed over it. Daniel Carter, Regional Sales Director. Now covered with a newer, bolder print, property managed by Foreclosure Holdings, Inc. Even the building had moved on, just as I should. I stepped outside into the crisp morning air, but just before getting into my car, a text lit up my phone. Unknown number. You ended her, but not all of us. I stared at it for a long time, smiled, deleted it, then drove away. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. And if you've ever faced betrayal or unexpected twists, let us know in the comments how you overcame it. Stay tuned for more emotional journeys like this one.